Even as the country's fight against COVID-19 pandemic continues, the national politics remains in crisis. Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli finds himself cornered in the ruling party ever since his failed attempt to sustain the two controversial ordinances. Meanwhile, it is the 30th day of the nationwide lockdown today. Good morning, I'm Amar Singh Pradhan and these are the headlines of the hour. Majority members of the NCP Secretariat Committee demand the immediate resignation of Prime Minister and Chairman K.P. Sharma Oli. The next round of Secretariat meeting on Saturday. 3 more coronavirus cases from Bara and Birganj detected in the country. The total number of COVID-19 cases in the country climbs to 57 with 41 active cases. Central Bureau of Statistics projects Nepal's economic growth rate at 2.27% in the current fiscal year, attributed to the setback caused by COVID-19 pandemic. And Britain becomes Europe's second worst hit nation from COVID-19 with more than 26,000 fatalities as Prime Minister Johnson criticized for his response to the outbreak.
घरमै बसौं र कोरोना संक्रमित हुनबाट आफू पनि बचौं अरूलाई पनि बचाऊं।
जगदम्बा अल्ट्रा प्रिमियम ओपीसी सिमेन्ट यही हो नेपालको अनुभवी ओपीसी सिमेन्ट।
घरमै बसौं र कोरोना संक्रमित हुनबाट आफू पनि बचौं अरूलाई पनि बचाऊं।
Majority members of the Secretariat Committee of the ruling Nepal Communist Party have asked Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli to step down from his position. Amid heightened disputes and power struggle within the ruling party, the disgruntled factions of the committee demanded Prime Minister Oli's resignation during the meeting of the Secretariat Committee held yesterday evening in Balwatar. Prime Minister Oli, meanwhile, not shying away from his political gambit, floated party's Vice Chairman Bamdev Gautam as the Prime Minister and senior leader Madhakumar Nepal as the party's third chairman. A source in the party informed that the party chairman and Prime Minister Oli said that he would resign once the coronavirus pandemic subsided. According to NCP spokesperson Naren Kazi Shrestha, the leadership faction deemed it necessary to have additional time to sort out the serious questions raised by the Secretariat members in yesterday's meeting, as the next Secretariat meeting has been called for Saturday, 2nd of May.
छलफल जारी छ र यस बीचमा पार्टीको नेतृत्व टिमले अनौपचारिक गृह कार्यको प्रक्रियाहरू पनि अगाडि बढाउँदै यही 20 गते पुनः सचिवालयको बैठक बस्ने निर्णय गरेको छ। सचिवालयको बैठकले यी सबै विषयमा अहिलेको आवश्यकतासँग मेल खाने, पार्टीलाई एकताबद्ध ढंगले अगाडि बढाउने र जनताले दिएको जनादेश अनुसार सामाजिक आर्थिक रूपान्तरणको प्रक्रियालाई पनि अगाडि बढाउने सन्दर्भमा उपयुक्त निर्णय लिनेछ र आवश्यक प्रस्तावहरू तयार गर्नेछ। त्यही बैठकले नै माग भइआएको स्थायी कमिटीको बैठकको बारेमा पनि आवश्यक निर्णय गर्नेछ।
However, leaders from the disgruntled faction have termed the Prime Minister's proposal as a strategy to divide the party. According to a high source in the party, Prime Minister Oli, when asked about the procedure to appoint a new Prime Minister, said that the party would decide on the issue. Prime Minister Oli has also proposed to appoint senior leader Nepal as the chairman, adopting the 3-chairman provision in the party. The new proposal presented by the Prime Minister is against the demand of one person, one post concept raised by the leaders including Executive Chairman Pushpakamal Dahal and Senior Leader Madhakumar Nepal. The disgruntled faction has therefore every reason to doubt the proposal and Prime Minister Oli's intention. During the meeting, Senior Leader Nepal sought resignation from Chairman and Prime Minister Oli, while Executive Chairman Dahal criticized the Prime Minister for devaluating the party's unity. The Secretariat meeting was called following rising inter-party disputes over the ordinances on political parties and Constitutional Council earlier issued by the government. Earlier, Executive Chairman Dahal and Senior Leader Nepal had held separate meetings with representatives from their respective faction, while Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli also held a separate meeting with his confidants at his official residence in Balwatar. The dissatisfied faction led by leader duo Dahal and Nepal were looking for a date for the standing committee meeting, while the Oli-led faction were against the standing committee meeting, citing that the government has already withdrawn ordinances and the government is now focused on curbing the spread of coronavirus spreading and the national budget. And moving on, the heightened intra-party dispute within the ruling Nepal Communist Party has again cast a doubt on political stability in the country. The government, despite enjoying two-thirds majority support, has often been criticized of failing to address the people's basic necessities and grievances, let alone the national requirements. To make the matter more complicated, the factions within the ruling coalition have started indulging in power struggle when the government has not even completed its first 2 years. Taking into account that none of the governments established since 1990 could sustain their full term, the new constitution embraced the provision of prohibiting impeachment motion against Prime Minister for the first 2 years of the tenure. Similar other provisions were aimed at ensuring political stability in the country. The constitution in this regard did not only envision a stable government, but good governance, national development and fulfillment of the people's aspirations. However, the recent turn of events has raised doubts on the intention of the leaders who are in charge of the national politics when it comes to fulfilling this national ambition.
नेताहरुमा जुन किसिमको नैतिकताको कमी रह्यो, नेताहरुमा जुन किसिमको एउटा राष्ट्रप्रतिको भावना, जनताप्रतिको इमानदारीताको जुन कमी रह्यो, त्यो कमीले गर्दाखेरि यस किसिमका स्थितिहरुको सिर्जना भएका हुन् जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ। र अर्कोतिर राजनैतिक दलहरुभित्र जुन किसिमका नेताहरुको चाहिँ उत्पादन भयो, जुन किसिमको नेताहरु देखा परे, ती नेताहरुप्रति पनि देशप्रतिको भावना भन्दा कसरी आफू सत्तामा जाने र आफू कसरी केन्द्रित हुने भन्ने कुरामा आफ्ना विचारहरू, आफ्ना नीतिहरू चाहिँ निर्धारित गरे भएको कारणले गर्दाखेरि यस किसिमको स्थितिहरूको सिर्जना भएको हो।
The practice of making flamboyant promises to the public before elections and the age-old tendency of indulging in power politics and vested interest has remained persistent in the national politics. The recent power struggle and differences emerged within the ruling Nepal Communist Party also reflects the same scenario.
विगतकै इतिहास हेर्यौं भने पनि पटक पटक बहुमतको सरकार ढलेको चाहिँ आफ्नै पार्टी भित्र चाहिँ विवादहरू भएको, पार्टीहरू फुटेको, यी सम्पूर्ण कुराहरूको इतिहासलाई केलाएर हेर्ने हो भने त्यहाँ विचार भन्दा पनि बढ्ता नैतिकताको कमी नै देखिन्छ। उनमा नैतिकताको कमी रह्यो, विचारप्रतिको इमानदारीता पनि रहेन, राष्ट्रप्रति र जनताप्रतिको इमानदारीता पनि रहेन। खाली आफ्नो स्वार्थलाई मात्र केन्द्रित गरेर जुन किसिमको राजनीति उनले खेले, त्यसैको चाहिँ अवस्था हामीले चाहिँ भोग्न बाध्य भएका छौं जस्तो लाग्छ।
Irrespective of the winner from the ongoing political quagmire among Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, Executive Chairman Pushpakamal Dahal or Senior Leader Madhukmar Nepal, the scenario doesn't augur well for the country's democracy and development, especially at a time when the entire nation should have been united to confront the lingering risk of the coronavirus outbreak in the country. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and House Speaker Agni Sapkota have discussed calling for the budget session of the federal parliament. The discussion between Prime Minister Oli and Speaker Agni Sapkota held yesterday morning at the Prime Minister's official residence Balwatar mulled over ways to move forward with the Parliament's summer session. Press advisor of Speaker Sapkota Sridhar Neupani said that the meeting dwelt on the debt to submit the policy and programs of the government. According to the constitutional provision, the annual budget should be unveiled until 28th of May, which prompted the government's decision yesterday. Prior to unveiling the government's policy and programs and the annual budget, their principles and priorities should be discussed at the Parliament. And moving on, 3 more individuals have tested positive for the novel coronavirus in the country yesterday. The test conducted in the capital's Teku-based National Public Health Laboratory confirmed 2 persons from Bara and 1 from Birganj had contracted the virus. A 31-year-old and a 43-year-old men from Bara and a 46-year-old man from Birganj tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. The man who tested positive for the virus from Birganj, Chapkaiya, had shared the same mosque from where 3 Indian nationals were earlier detected with COVID-19. He was kept in quarantine in Birganj itself. Bara is the 13th district that has witnessed the coronavirus infection in the country. Both the infected individuals in Bara had returned to Nepal from India on 10th of February this year. They have tested positive for coronavirus 49 days since their return from India. Altogether, 77 individuals have undergone PCR test in Bara so far. Meanwhile, the local administration in Bara has said that the wards with the infected cases would be sealed and the test would be expedited in the district. The total number of coronavirus infections has climbed to 57 in the country, with 41 active cases, as 16 individuals infected with the virus have recovered and returned home. The government's target of the national economic growth in the current fiscal year is unlikely to be met. According to the Central Bureau of Statistics, the country's economic growth rate would decline to 2.27% in the current fiscal year. The significant shrink in the national economic growth has been attributed to the global coronavirus pandemic and its impact on the national economy. The government had earlier aimed 8.5% economic growth rate in the current fiscal year. The anticipation, however, has been shattered due to the multifaceted impacts caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing precautionary efforts to prevent the possible outbreak in the country. Among the major aspects of the national economy, the growth rates related to agriculture, forest and excavation are likely to significantly decline. At a time when the entire world has been unable to predict the duration of the impact induced by the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, the Statistics Bureau has assessed the economic growth based on the projection that the country's hotel and restaurant businesses, along with the international travels and cross-border trade, would remain affected until the end of the current fiscal year. Earlier, the Asian Development Bank and World Bank also had projected 2% of Nepal's economic growth rate in the current fiscal year. According to analysts, the prolonged nationwide lockdown is bound to hit the national economy harder in the coming days. And it's now time for our segment Public Pulse, where it texts us with their opinion.
Public Pulse.
And your question is, why have the quarantine centers prepared by local governments not been used? And your options are A, tendency of defying quarantine provision, option B, not suitable, and options not suitable to stay, and option C, not necessary. The voting for the question is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And it's now time for our special segment, Glorious History.
On 29th of April 1945, the U.S. 7th Army's 45th Infantry Division liberated Dachau, the first concentration camp established by Germany's Nazi regime. A major Dachau subcamp was liberated the same day by their 42nd Rainbow Division. Established 5 weeks after Adolf Hitler took power as German Chancellor in 1933, Dachau was situated on the outskirts of the town of Dachau, about 10 miles northwest of Munich. During its first year, the camp held about 5,000 political prisoners, consisting primarily of German communists, social democrats, and other political opponents of the Nazi regime. During the next 5 years, the number of prisoners grew dramatically and other groups were interned at Dachau, including Jehovah's Witnesses, gypsies, homosexuals, and repeat criminals. Beginning in 1938, Jews began to comprise a major portion of camp internees. On 29th of April 1992, in the U.S. city of California, 4 Los Angeles police officers that had been caught beating an unarmed African-American motorist in an amateur video were acquitted of any wrongdoing in the arrest. Hours after the verdicts were announced, outrage and protest turned to violence as the LA riots began. Protesters in south-central Los Angeles blocked freeway traffic and beat motorists, wrecked and looted numerous downtown stores and buildings, and set more than 100 fires. On 3rd of March 1991, paroled felon Rodney King led police on a high-speed chase through the streets of Los Angeles country before eventually surrendering. A citizen with a personal video camera was filming the arrest, and the 89-second video caught the police beating King with their batons and kicking him long after he was capable of resistance. The video released to the press caused outrage around the country and triggered a national debate on police brutality. On 29th of April 1974, the then U.S. President Richard Nixon announced to the public that he would release transcripts of 46 taped White House conversations in response to a Watergate trial subpoena issued in July 1973. The House Judiciary Committee accepted 1,200 pages of transcripts the next day but insisted that the tapes themselves be turned over as well. In his announcement, Nixon took elaborate pains to explain to the public his reluctance to comply with the subpoena and the nature of the content he planned to release. He cited his right to executive privilege to protect state secrets and stated that the transcripts were edited by him and his advisors to omit anything irrelevant to the Watergate investigation or critical to national security. He invited committee members to review the actual tapes to determine whether or not the president had omitted incriminating evidence in the transcripts. This is Bipashna Thamang for Glorious History and Kantipur News Desk.
And those were our latest headlines. Stay with us for more news and entertainment on KDBSD. Good day and stay safe.